Welcome into the Tickets Basket Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former Husker and 9-year NBA Eric Strickland.
For three! You're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What a night it was at Pinnacle Bank Arena as Nebraska took down the hated Hawkeyes, the rivals from Iowa City, welcomed them into town. I don't know how much they welcomed them in, but they certainly chased them out as I was going to be running out of Lincoln with a 66-50 loss. Nebraska, more importantly, obviously gets the win, improves to 8-6, and gets a victory in conference play. And now we get to talk about it. This is the Hoop Post Show. We will have VP Derek Pearson join us here in about 20 minutes. Until then, it's myself, Jake Bachman, and the Husker Hall of Famer and longtime NBA vet Eric Strickland. And Strick, I know you were there for at least the first half and probably a few minutes in the second half. So I want to know about that environment, though. I know it was a sold-out Pinnacle Bank Arena, but what are your initial thoughts on the Huskers? Just a swarming, dominating victory. This isn't one you had to hold your breath on too much.
No, listen, the atmosphere was solid. It was great. The crowd was in there. There were moments where they really got into it. The team was scrappy. One of the things we talked about on the block and a little bit earlier is what is needed, what they needed to do, what Nebraska needed to do in this game against Iowa. Iowa coming off of a big loss. I think it was Eastern Illinois.
Yeah.
And by 30. And you had to figure with this time off, they were getting Murray back, or getting Chris Murray back, and they were getting one of the McCaffrey brothers back. So you had to figure they were going to come in with a lot of energy, and you just wanted to make sure you matched it. They did that. This Husker team came out. They were very aggressive. They matched it. I mean, they had 54 rebounds today, man. Let's just be real. That's crazy. They beat this team, and this is a solid rebounding team in its own right. Iowa, they beat them by double digits, by over 12 rebounds. So, I mean, they did what they had to do tonight. They got after it. They won every 50-50 ball. They were on the floor. They were scrappy. They were putting bodies on people. And they shot the ball very well. Now, to hold this team who actually shoots the ball pretty well, they score over 83 points a game, to hold them to over almost half of what they score, being one of the top scorers in the Big Ten, that's a tremendous job that this Husker team did tonight.
Yeah, it was. And again, there's so much to break down here, but it was a resounding win for Nebraska, almost in just every category. Iowa, I don't think this is going to trick you as being one of the Iowa teams of the last couple of years, where they had, of course, the All-American Player of the Year and Luka Garza a few years ago, Keegan Murray, a top lottery pick last season. So it might not be that Iowa team, but it's still an Iowa team that averages 84 points per game. And Nebraska, especially in the first half, held them down 26 points. And actually, it did better in the second half, held them down to 24 points in the second half for the Hawkeyes, as they'll finish with just 50 points tonight. That's a heck of a performance. I don't care what way you put it. And yeah, maybe it was an off shooting night for Iowa. They had some open looks that they couldn't get going. They missed a lot of bunnies. But all you can do if you're Nebraska is apply the pressure. And in Nebraska, probably didn't look the smoothest at all times. This was as much as Iowa likes to get up and run, they, like I said, average 84 points per game, have led the Big Ten in points per game for quite a few years now under Fran McCaffrey. They like to get up and go, and Nebraska was willing to do that early on. And
they took it to them
and won at their own game. That being said, just between both the teams, there were some banked in threes. There was some off the side of the backboard. There's some air balls. There's Breidenbach almost even made a shot there toward the end from his knees. So there was a lot of strange shots. Probably not the best offensive performance for the night from either team, but from Nebraska, their numbers sure look good. 40%, almost 41% from the field, 36% from the 3-point line, led by CJ Wilcher, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, and even getting around that 71.4% from the free throw line, which we've been pretty critical. You got to at least
you got to be 70%. Up there. That's a recipe for success.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think another part, Bach, is a recipe. Well, first of all, they got out to the great lead that they had. They should have been, 20-point lead over this team, because anytime you have a team shooting 20-something%, you without stupid mistakes, turnovers, little things like that, which they were getting. They were making stupid turnovers. Tominaga steps in on an inbound. Those things you can't have. Like you've got to really be able to just pound the team. And when you get them down like that, shooting 20-something%. Now, they were shooting at one point in the first half, they were 7 for 10 from three. So they were shooting 70%, and then they went cold. Here's the issue with that, Bach. What they were doing earlier is they was running with opportunity. So they didn't give Iowa a chance to get set up. Where Nebraska struggles is that in the half-court game, this is what they did when they're trying to slow down, they're trying to run clock, they're trying to get a good shot. They don't have a guy that has the capability outside of Griesel posting up and Derek Walker being able to take guys off the dribble or also in the post. They don't have the guy that can break the defense down to cause someone to have to help and then find themselves with a great opportunity on the offensive end. That's where they struggle. They did that early. They got out. They got some transition situations. They were able to find Gary cutting to the basket. They were able to do that. CJ Wilcher coming off something, putting a body on him, getting them good looks, but they weren't able to do that in the second half. And so they've got to be better at that in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't quite close the game down. Iowa was kind of just hanging around. Now, they did have, again, a big enough lead that it didn't matter too much. They came out of the second half, props to them, with a 9-2 run to kind of further that 38-26 lead, which I guess that was the same way in the end of the second half. Iowa could not score a point for 8 minutes. I mean, that's how good Nebraska's defense was. And during that time, I think Nebraska was on a 19-0 scoring run. And then Iowa got some to go and even got it down to 9 points before a banked three from Gary before the end of the half. And he makes some difficult looking shots. I don't know. I'm not always feeling great when some of them are going up, but he made a few difficult ones tonight.
Yeah. And he hit a few of the open ones that he had. We've got to get Vandermill to do that. Like, Vandermill's getting good looks. I don't know if it's the defense, because he does get after a defense. He hounds the ball. He's probably going to be on everybody's best offensive player. But here's the thing. Derek Walker set the tone for what the night was going to be early in the game with physical, grown man to the hoop type of moves, where he was putting bodies on guys and letting them know that, hey, it's going to be a long night for you young fellas. Now, here's the problem also they have to try to correct. You have a guy shooting 60. We talked about this before. Me and you've worked together.
Yeah.
And we've talked. You got a guy shooting 66%. When you go on droughts, get that or do what they did with Griesel in the post, who then found Walker underneath after the double team comes. You've got to be able to take advantage of those mismatches, because they don't have a guy that can actually go get a bucket when you need it.
Yeah, and that was kind of a two-part of the storyline just following Derek Walker, was that he was in foul trouble throughout this game. And usually you kind of think about Nebraska game in and game out, who's going to be a guy that you can rely on. It's usually Derek Walker, unless he is in foul trouble. And so credit to Nebraska. Breidenbach actually was in foul trouble even quicker when he came in. And that's something that, is just kind of, he had 4 fouls again tonight. He's a physical player. He's got to address that. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Koyenet's coming in, even getting early
Oleg.
Yeah, Oleg actually got some minutes. Didn't play a big part
he
tonight.
Did actually
get 3 rebounds.
Yeah. Oleg gave them good spell minutes. There was no problems. He was able to just get in there, put bodies on people, challenge a few shots, get some rebounds. That's good. If you can get Oleg to spell foul trouble minutes like that, especially with Keita not being available, that's good stuff. I mean, up to 10 points, that's all you ask. You just ask for him to be solid.
And it was one of those games, to look at it, where the starters led the way for Nebraska. Tominaga didn't get it going tonight, even forced some shots up because he was frustrated that he wasn't getting going. Lawrence did hit 1 critical 3, and Breidenbach had 2 points. So a total of 7 points off the bench for Nebraska. But again, it helps when all your starters are in double digits, and that's what it was across the board for Nebraska. Gary leading the way with 14 points, Wilcher with 13, Griesel with 12, 10, and 5. And then 10 and 8 from Derek Walker, and Vandermill with 10 points as well. Gary benefiting from some lackadaisical defense at times. A couple highlight dunks with with Iowa just falling asleep either in fast break or out of a timeout once. It was just it's kind of weird to see that, especially that play. It looked like, I don't know if they blew the whistle or what. There was the guy that was passing the ball in and Gary that were ready to go, and that was about it. But either way, it all counts the same, and Nebraska gets the win. We want to hear from you. We want to get your reaction as well. So we'll head to the Starter Heyman text line and check it out. Brock and Lincoln says, thought I'd say what VJ would say. We beat Iowa. Yeah, we'll probably hear that from VJ tomorrow if he comes on in. Faisal 5 times says, was waiting to hear just like football chants. That would be nice. It does kind of feel like a good time. If you want to visit your family, friends in Iowa, this would probably be a good time for the first time in several years. You've got some trash talking to do. Randy says, total domination. Absolutely. Matthew and Hickman says, PBA was electric. Again, it was a sellout crowd. So I was interested to kind of see. I didn't end up going, but I bet it was pretty nice there. And Lovey says, Braden, whatever, has been getting jobbed by the refs this year. How would you address Breidenbach in his foul trouble, which is just, it's constant?
Breidenbach has at least 2 fouls a game that are unnecessary, meaning it's going after a play that you really have no chance at. I'm not saying he's not hustling, because I believe it's hustles. Usually when that occurs, it's false hustle. It's you're doing something either to try to make up for something, or you're doing something that would normally be seen as hustle, and it's really just kind of a false thing, and you end up with a foul. It's putting your body in a situation like when he hedges on pick and rolls. Sometimes you're not in position to keep that guy from going. You just let him go. You just let him go and recover to your guy. So it's little things like that. He has at least 2 fouls a game that are just not good fouls. One, I can take the one where he dives on the ball. That's great hustle. Then there was another one, or if you're going after a rebound, there's a couple situations where he goes after rebounds that he's out of position, and it's going to be a call. And so that's what he needs to do a little bit better.
And he did well, at least on the offensive boards, with 5 rebounds. Especially there was a trip there at the end. I think he got 2 of, and Nebraska got like 3 of them. They burned a lot of clock in
like a minute
in that
and 20 minute and 40, 30 seconds. Yeah.
Right, that's a long time, and he was a big part of that. But he is going to have to, especially if Keita is out for a considerable amount of time. We mentioned Koyanet's getting some minutes there, but clearly he's their backup big, and they need him to kind of stay out of foul trouble. So again, I think between the foul trouble of Walker and Breidenbach, that makes the victory all the more impressive, that it didn't really slow Nebraska down on their way to this dominating 66-50 victory. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break here. We're on the Hoops post-game show. Thanks again to Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical for taking care of the Hoops post-game show today. Nebraska this year, I should say. Nebraska, with this victory, improves to 8-6 and gets an all-important first conference victory. Of course, they played 2 top 25 opponents before this Iowa game. There are only 3 total right now in the Big Ten, so it's a kind of a difficult schedule to open up with. But now the victory over Iowa gets them 1 in the win column, which is very important. As I was kind of thinking today, you don't want to fall too far behind 500.
Bach, absolutely. This game was more important for the reason of what you just said. You don't want to get in a hole that you have to dig your way out. And what I talked about a little bit earlier, and the way you do that, take care of home. And that's what you have to do. I don't care who comes in here. You almost did that with Purdue.
Yeah.
You take care of home. Those sometimes happen when you're playing against a great team. Purdue's one of those type of teams that if you have a shot at them, you take your best shot and you hope you hit the mark. But teams like Iowa, teams like Minnesota, teams like Wisconsin, even Wisconsin, I don't care. Teams like Wisconsin, anytime you get them on your home court. Matter of fact, before we take the break, I was talking with Woodbury. Those who are listening would know Steve Woodbury he played at Kansas. The time I was playing, he's probably a couple years older than me, but he was one of those great Kansas teams. Played with Danny Manning before Danny left. Steve Woodbury and he said, one of the things I can never say is that I won in this building. They
never did, huh?
Kansas teams that during his time frame, even as great as they were, they never won. And that's the thing. When they come in here, they've got to feel as if we're going to have a tough one. We got to hope we get a win. There's gyms in the Big Ten that you can go in and you say, we got to get this one. But you've got to be that team that when they come into the building, they're like, man, we got to give all we got because we got to hope to get this one.
Yeah.
You know, that's the feeling that you want them to feel. That's the type of effort that they gave tonight. That's the one that they've got to continue because they've got a nice, tough little stretch here. They're going to hit the road, and they got to go on the road and hope they can get one.
Yeah, and we'll break it down. We'll talk about more of that coming up next. We also have Derek Pearson set to join us here in a little bit. We'll do all that, more and more here on the Hoops Postgame Show. Huskers get the victory over the Hawkeyes, 66-50. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on 93.7 The Ticket.
Coppo Insurance Agency in Lincoln says thank you to all of their customers for this. Let's have a wheel. Special message. Insurance. If you're looking for insurance, call 402-475-3213. They are honest and fair. For a solid insurance program to meet your every need, see Coppo Insurance Agency. They're wishing all a happy, healthy, and safe 2023.
The Empire brand is growing with ESC fabrication and sandblasting. ESC is your place for custom handrails, industrial and commercial painting, and more. ESC provides custom welding for aluminum and stainless and media blasting of all sorts. ESC has great attention to detail. They stick to deadlines and keep within your budget. If you can dream it, they can make it. Contact ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting in Waverly today at 531-207-9329.
Did you know that the U.S. has added over 1,100 new breweries in the last 18 months? Learn more by shopping at Myers Cork and Bottle, 13th and South, and by tuning into Thirsty Thursdays with Kevin Myers, because sports are better with a drink in your hand and a friend at your side.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
The best way to learn about Southeast Community College is to visit. And you can check out our spaces before you visit in person with a virtual campus tour. An opportunity to see our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, and Milford as you learn about our programs and areas of study. There are virtual tours of our learning centers too. We can even take you on a personalized virtual tour. Learn more on our website, southeast.edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
Did you know that the U.S. has added over 1,100 new breweries in the last 18 months? Learn more by shopping at Myers Cork and Bottle, 13th and South, and by tuning into Thirsty Thursdays with Kevin Myers, because sports are better with a drink in your hand and a friend at your side. $93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 330 North 48th Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. Great career opportunities that you can find by excellent opportunity to work air conditioning facility with great people by applying online at GardnerIndustries.com.
Back to the Tickets Basketball Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former Husker and 9-year NBA vet Eric Strickland on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back and ready for the new year now, because Nebraska has done that for us. They got us a big victory against the hated Hawkeyes, the rivals from Iowa City. With a big victory tonight, Nebraska improves to 8-6 and 1-2 in conference play. They won 66-50. I'm Jake Bakoven. Of course, we got the Husker Hall of Famer Eric Strickland in the building to help break it down, and we got a call from our lead boss here, DP Matthew and Hickman. By the way, giving a shout out to DP, saying, "Let DP know it was great to meet him at the game tonight." A true leader. So DP, you're making good impressions at Pinnacle Bank Arena, and so is Nebraska with the big victory tonight. What are your initial thoughts with the Huskers' big victory? Are you there, DP? Oh, maybe that's not. Maybe we didn't listen to him. Maybe we lost DP there. We'll try to reach out and get to him again. But hopefully he can call back in here. But Nebraska, anyways, gets the victory against the Hawkeyes, 66-50, and once again gets their first conference victory, 1-2 now in conference, 8-6 overall. Gary leading the way tonight, 14 points, 9 rebounds, but not by a big margin, as everybody was kind of contributing there. 13 points for CJ Wilcher, 12 points for Sam Griesel, 10 for Bandemel, and 10 for Walker. A total of 7 points coming off the bench for the Huskers. Strick, I'm going to go answer this phone call real quick. While I do that, just kind of break down what you saw from the defense tonight, why it was so effective against a team that averages 84 points per game. And they were just, you could hear it from the broadcast too, discombobulated for a majority of the night, Iowa was.
Yeah, Iowa... They're very fundamentally sound. Iowa takes care of the ball. As you can see, they only had 6 turnovers for the game. So they're going to take care of the ball. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They actually took good shots, but the shots were challenged. I mean, there was nothing that Iowa did that was not challenged. It was the defensive rotations from the Huskers were crisp. The bodies, the rebounding, there was only a couple situations where they really had really good looks that they just missed. But one of the things I liked about Nebraska, and this is what they're going to have to do, Bach, is transition, secondary type transition. They have to like push the ball and kind of remember we talked about this before where they took bad shots last year. They were just coming down, they would throw up some stuff. But this team can push to probe for situations. When you have great cutters like Gary, when you have good shooters and who are shooting the ball well tonight, like CJ Wilcher, I said that one of those two guys have to play well for them to possibly have some sex.
Success, I think.
Success. Yeah. I didn't mean that.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
but to have some success, it had to be either Bandemel or Wilcher. Without them two, there was going to be a little struggle, and then not have Casey show up, it was going to be tough. So having one of those guys have a tremendous game tonight in shooting the ball, which Wilcher did, making free throws, all of those things are signs of good things come if they continue to play that way in the Big Ten Bowl.
And let's head to the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Again, you guys are always welcome to contribute to the show. We have Bruce from Oregon joining us here on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Bruce, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. That was a good game, man. Strick, I heard you earlier say that we need to rebound, and we did that tonight.
Yeah.
The here and there silly fouls. I really believe these guys. I think you can tell them. Like all three of us right now can talk about, hey, don't foul. Derek Walker, any of our backups, they just got to the basketball is so quick today, man. Like, but I seen that Walker, he hit him with his shoulder, and I was just like, dang, I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think, and especially you, Strick, as a former college and NBA player, what is it going to take for these guys to learn to stop fouling? So thanks a lot, guys. Go Big Red.
All right, thank you.
What was the caller's name? You remember?
Bruce Morgan.
Bruce, thanks for calling, by the way. Here's the crazy dynamic, right? As bad as what you think you saw as far as fouling, they don't foul as much as they're one of the better teams, not only in the conference, in the country, in not fouling. So they don't put a lot of people in the fouls that they do have are stupid, which makes it even worse, right? Because because some of the fouls are stupid fouls that you really don't have to do. and still you have kind of success that you have. This team, most teams that they've played thus far, there's been only a few of them. I want to say maybe 3, 4 that have shot above 10 free throws in a game. They only shot 8 free throws.
Yeah.
So they're not really fouling, but when they do, they're stupid. So it looks like it's worse than what it is.
Well, and again, with the hounding defensive effort too, sometimes you have to trade a little bit, get some physicality and get some of those fouls. And you kind of give up that you're going to give some of those fouls if their strategy on defense. And like you said, Nebraska only 12 total fouls in this game, and they were outpacing Florida or Iowa for quite a bit of time before Iowa got their first foul. But Iowa ended up with more fouls, 14 fouls.
Yeah.
And part of it might have been late. They were trying to, get Nebraska to the line a little bit. But overall, it's not probably as big of a problem. There's always some head scratchers, but throughout a 40-minute game, there's probably going to be.
They're pretty solid.
Yeah,
and they do a good job of getting their hands off. I mean, they're actually coached very well on the defensive side. Now, there are some things that I see on the defensive side of things. Where guys have the ball in the post and they like literally open up and give straight line drives. I was over there like, what are you doing? There were some double teams that would come where they weren't necessarily needed, but they did a good job of recovering out of it. I mean, I love to watch this team play because, that's my thing, Bach. Look, I get excited. I mean, I have to kind of contain myself when I'm sitting up there in the media area because I get so excited with good defense, and these guys are scrappy. I mean, they really do. They help, they recover, they rotate, they'll take charges, they'll hit the floor. I love it. I love everything that they're doing, and it's a great game tonight.
Another call here off the Honda of Lincoln hotline. You are live. Who is this?
DP, man. What's up?
There it is. It is DP. And now that you've joined, I wanted to go ahead and let you know Matthew and Hickman gave a shout out to you. Said, let DP know it was great meeting him at the game tonight. True leader. So you're making a good impression at PBAA, as well as the Huskers. What are your initial thoughts from the Huskers getting a huge victory over the hated Hawkeyes tonight and getting a win and getting something going in the win column there in the Big Ten standings?
Sellout crowd. Even with a large number of Iowa fans who unfortunately didn't realize the game was 40 minutes. They left at 31 minutes.
Long drive back, DP.
Traffic back to Iowa City is going to be really tough, so they need to get out of the building early. They had to do that. Give Coach Hoiberg credit for doing exactly what he said he was going to do, which was he was going to focus on defense. That was going to be the priority. That was going to be the identity of the team. It was going to be how they were going to change their location and elevation in the Big Ten Conference. Getting a win in conference at the end of the year as additional bloom to this thing. 73 shots by Iowa and 50 points. Strick, I don't care. Bach, I don't care how you measure that.
Mm-hmm.
When you are that efficient defensively, 25 and 26% from the field and from three, you have done the dang thing. And it showed up in it at difficult shots, rushed shots from spots on the floor that they didn't particularly want to do that. And then 7 of 28 from three, those 21 in empty possessions. Look, it just took the wind out of the sails of the Hawkeyes. Great night defensively. Great night communicating. Even with a loud crowd, they still, a loud defense is a good defense. You heard them talking. You heard them communicating. They had each other's backs. They were aggressive at the rim. Good to watch. And quite frankly, look, give them their flowers. The starting five all with double digits. A couple of guys. You had 3 players with more than 8 assists, 8 rebounds. More than 3 players with 3 or more assists. Balance. Team effort, team energy, great team win.
Absolutely. And part of it, too, is kind of interesting. As it opened up, Iowa, as we know, likes to push the play, as far as getting shots up. You mentioned it again tonight. They had 73. They like to put shots up. They've been doing it in the Big Ten for the last several years. Nebraska was kind of going at that early. Do you think that they kind of made an adjustment? Obviously, late in the game, they started to sit on the clock, but it was like they were beating Iowa at their own game early on, and that's what led to the big lead, which never relinquished.
Well, that's Big Ten basketball, right? That is it, right? That you press people into doing things that they don't want to do.
You identify things that they're not doing well. You take advantage of it. You rely heavily on your defense to keep them from getting a rhythm or for getting in their own space. Iowa looked uncomfortable running their own offense. And that's identifying where they like to get shots on the floor, making people take shots that they don't want to take, making bigs handle the ball in spaces they don't want to. They were creating different post place on the floor, like they were displacing the bigs, so they couldn't get settled in anything as well. And then they ran the shooters off their spots and made them shoot from other spots on the floor. Look, you can't defend that way without purpose. And that's knowing spots on the floor that you're going to take away. 15 spots on the floor, if you decide you're going to take away 3 that they like to shoot at the most and make them shoot uncomfortable shots, Strick will tell you, as a defender, if you can take away something that somebody else wants to do, you make them less of a player, you make them less of a team. That's what the Huskers did tonight.
Yeah, it was a big.
Text line's wild.
Oh, text line's
wild. Stricky. It wasn't a dumper, DP, but Stricky said something, and the text line's wilding on me, man. You just go with it.
Hey, look. Sometimes you got to learn when to read that and when not to.
Well, to be fair, he wasn't. He didn't say anything. He just started giggling, which caught my ear there. But yeah, everybody says some things once in a while on air that it's not what they meant to say.
Yeah,
Freudian slip, maybe.
Freudian slip, and it wasn't a bad one. But
we didn't have to use the dump.
No dump.
Just there.
Yeah, DP, this was great, man. Listen, I'm going to be honest, and I said this before you came on the line. One of the things that I see that I was, I have to kind of keep myself calm because I get excited when I see it, was the crispness of the rotations on defense. Like, there was no air. There was no opportunity. Even on shot fakes, they kind of stayed, they were there. And the rotations were next and crisp, and then getting back out and getting to the next guy. It was only maybe 2 or 3 times that I saw that there was a lacking of that. Is this something that's sustainable, or you're seeing a consistency in this area, DP?
Well, yeah, because look, he went and got length, and he went and got purposeful length, right? So that it was athletic, that athletic arrogance that's required for you to make long strides in defense, and then transition that to short strides in the same few steps. Right, your ability to close out and not lose control of your body, your core is good. Your wingspan is purposeful, and that takes away what they did tonight better than they've ever done this season was take away passes to the interior. Like, that was a part that, look, we're not going to allow any passes. We'll let you go around us, but we're not going to, because that's 2 passes to something good. That internal pass or that pass across the middle was taken away because that's 1 pass to a clear shot. And they were really good about taking away that 1 pass and shot situation. They took away everything in the middle. It is sustainable. I mean, especially think about this, guys, that this is on a night with foul trouble in the middle. Mm-hmm. And that even with the lineup changes and then going to the deeper ends of the bench, they still maintain that defensive energy and communication. So when they go smaller, they become more athletic. They can go bigger and be stronger, but they showed that in Big Ten play, Big Ten style of play, they can do this thing over the course of the season. Now, you can't whisper to injuries or any of that sort of thing or foul trouble. But in concept, scheme, and energy, that's a thing they can do throughout the rest of the Big Ten season.
Here's one thing, too, to look at, DP, and your thoughts on this and what they're going to have to do better in this area. When Nebraska was allowed to get up and down in transition, the Huskers were 29-8 with the freedom, the pushing, the probing, the slashing, a lot of those things, getting hands on balls and turning it into opportunities. That's what you had. But when Iowa brought a little token pressure, some zone, slowed it down a little bit, Nebraska's offense, the Hawkeyes were 18-9, and that's through a stretch, not the last 4 minutes, but up until the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, I thought, I swore that you were going to just rant and rave because it looked like 5 Stricklands out on the floor at several points.
I agree. I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Right? Like that we jokingly and then passively say we need more dog, but the dog aspect of it is being intelligent to need to do efficiently. Like that's the dog, is that there's no wasted motion, there's no wasted energy. And I kept thinking, well, look at this, right? In the right place, reacting in the right space, people resetting defensively, shutting down, sinking the hips, right, great hand placement, eyes in the right place, right? They didn't have bad eyes where they were looking in a place they ain't had a business looking, right? Because that's how you get beat on the back cut, and that's how you miss your guy out of rotation. You're not aware of the five on the floor. And it didn't matter what five they put out there. Remember that one stretch where they had to go small with Gary as being the biggest dude on the floor?
Yeah, they had Denham Dawson, Lawrence, Gary, and I think they even had Oleg. There was a stretch there when they had that crew in. Yeah.
Right, and it didn't look awkward.
Yeah.
It didn't look disconnected. So I think, like, whatever time you spend at the early practice whispering about defensive connectivity, right? Whatever thing you talked about tenacity, about communication, because those are high-level defensive things, concepts, it looked mighty streaky out there.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah. I agree, DP. They did. I mean, they were very active, and I love it. I mean, it is one of the things that I love. Now, DP, one other thing I'm going to throw out to you, and then I'll let Bach jump in, is Nebraska. Where do they go outside of Greasel in the post and Walker working somebody out? Because he had some grown man moves today. It was some straight Debo-ish type stuff going on to start the game early, but outside of that, I think they don't seem to have somebody that can go get it. How do you envision that they have to try to put that in place to win games when it comes to crunch time and some competition when you get into the Wisconsins and you get into the Illinois, when you're gonna need that guy to get that bucket? Who's that guy that you feel that can get that and create that space?
Well, I think Vanderbilt flashed a bit of the mid-range off the three. So if they want to run Vanderbilt off the three, he's actually got mid-range. CJ's got mid-range, right? That he can go with that. Look, I don't think we've seen the full bag from Juwan Gary. Like to me, he and Vanderbilt are sitting on some stuff, right? That their ability to finish at the rim and through the rim. Look, it's good to see that in team concept, but we haven't seen many dudes who really just want to put defenders in the basket. Like grown, like there's one thing to think of Bryce McGowan, smooth blade, George Gervin kind of finish. But we talk about that Jerome Lane send it in Jerome sort of finish with mid-range game as well. So they've got those three guys, Vanderbilt, Wiltshire, and Gary. But we look, another side highlight in this thing is that Casey Tominaga didn't give us the business tonight, and this team still won by 16. Right? Like, that's a dude who, look, if you need a bucket, his handles is underrated. His mid-range game and his ability to finish in traffic amongst bigs with that teardrop and running one-hander, they've got four guys that, quite frankly, if you need a bucket and you just get to that point in the clock where you, hey, put your head down and go be magical. Again, Strick, that wasn't your forte, but it was in your bag.
Right.
So I see them that way, that because they're playing team play, they're not getting late in the shot clocks and having to go one-on-one.
Right.
But when they need somebody to go get it, look, Juwan Gary's a legitimate Big Ten finisher.
Yeah.
So they've got some dudes. I just like the fact. I like the fact that they haven't had to show it yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not, and so often with the last couple of years, and you think of last year, it just kind of came down to that. So often was the shot clock was running out, get the ball to Bryce, get the ball to Verge, and it's an ISO situation. And you just don't see too much of that with this team.
That's tough to change, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, That mentality is tough. That's why it's so amazing. And I love that you spoke on that. That's what's amazing is that you can turn that kind of culture around just like that. You still have pieces that are a part of that team.
Oh, yeah.
But your additions have bought into what you're trying to teach. Go ahead.
And DP, I wanted to ask you too, because I heard you say this, and maybe, maybe this is obvious at this point with Nebraska already having 8 wins. They didn't really total a whole lot of wins the last couple of years. Is this the best built team that Nebraska's had under Hoiberg? And how much of that was going out and getting addressing the issue? Because like you mentioned, part of it's the guys that were around, Wilcher, Walker getting better at their team defense. You can see even Tamanaga doing a lot better at that. But it's hard to teach Ben Mel's length or on ball defense, and the Griesel's length, Gary, these type of guys. Is this clearly the best built team that Hoiberg's had?
For the Big Ten, yeah. For the Big Ten, right? I mean, look, Bryce McGowan was a legitimate generational player. If he had stayed 4 years at Nebraska, what he would have done at Nebraska, probably not many people would have done. Yeah. Look, he's doing his thing in the league. He's getting paid for it. Verge is going to get paid. Derek Walker has another year of maturity. You went and got Juwan Gary is a grown man. He went through the SEC. He's not really flexed by much. He doesn't get impressed by people. Matter of fact, you got to stop him before he's going to stop going, because he's going to try you once just to see whether you're going to stand up to it or not. Vandermel doesn't care, right? He defends like he don't care. I don't care who we're playing. It's my job to be in your pocket, in your hip pocket, for 70 feet. Like, you ain't got to like it, and I don't care what else you trying to get done, but this is what we got to do. Griesel gives you a force, another boundary, another fence post, right, in that quadrant that you need to defend in the Big Ten. And then you have reserves who will come in and do what they're good at, rather than having to come in and be everything to anybody. So, yeah, he built it with the idea that here's what I need from my rotational guys. Here's what I need from my fill-in guys. I'll have answers. I don't have to answer everything, but if I can answer most things that I'm going to face in the Big Ten, then I'll live with that. And that's what you're living with, is a team that, look, on a night where it could have got away several times, they went back to what they did well. If you go back and look at when Iowa scored a bucket, Nebraska came right back and got a bucket from a grown man. Like, there was no, hey, let's throw it up and wish. They actually put a play in, they ran their sequence, and in the third or fourth sequence, they got what they were looking for.
One other question, too, before we let you go, is and I'm kind of interested in this. CJ Wilcher has kind of been off. We know he's a sharpshooter, a three-point shooter, has been off the last couple of games. He had it tonight, and you could tell he had it tonight. Ended up 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. But I was kind of impressed that, because usually if a guy has it, you want to try to test if you got the microwave going. I was actually kind of impressed that he didn't really do that. He didn't go outside or take selfish shots, to my recollection, and actually ended up with 3 assists. Were you kind of impressed that Wilcher, who clearly was shooting well tonight, didn't force it up?
Well, I mean, that's maturity, right? I mean, in basketball speak, Strick will tell you that's the definition of maturity. Is to not go into your own head and your own space and make it about me. What he was doing was what the team needed to beat Iowa. And there will be nights when the team needs for CJ to go get a bucket, like Strick said. Hey, man, we need you to go to work, go get it done. But there were also nights when they need for him to get me a big rebound, get me a big stop, be a positive voice on the sideline. A lot of what folks miss, if you're not in the building, you don't always see C.J. Wilcher coaching from the sideline and from the bench, like coaching on the floor, coaching during timeouts. C.J. Wilcher is leading. He is leading, and it's pretty cool to watch. And leadership requires that do what is needed to be done, not necessarily what you won't feel like doing at that moment. Bravo to him.
Absolutely. And absolutely. Thanks for your time again, DP. We're going to let you go as we are up against it. We'll take one more break and then round this thing out. But DP, thanks for joining us and giving your insight today.
Good job, guys. Appreciate you, man. And I will see you tomorrow, last day of 2022.
That's right. We're going out on a good note. Thanks, DP.
Yes, sir.
All right, there he goes. All right, let's do that. Let's take a quick break. We'll run it out, kind of look at the schedule, what's ahead for Nebraska, and like we usually like to do, kind of start to project onward what we can see from this team, as we all kind of like to think about where this team could be by season's end. So we'll do that coming up next year on the Hoops Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Life-changing research doesn't just take place in outer space. It's also happening right here in Nebraska. Solarical Research needs healthy 19 years old and older for a research opportunity. If you qualify, you can earn up to $500 a day for time and travel. Overnight stays may be required. To learn more, call Solarion at 866-213-2965 or visit helpresearch.com/500.
Hey guys, this is Lindsay Teal from Nebraska Golf Courses in the World. St. Andrews, Pebble Beach, Southern Hills, the best of the leading track ball speed play. Check it out for yourself year-round. Double Eagle Golf, just 5 minutes from downtown at the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 10th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
You had to know that when Wingstop set out to make a crispy, juicy chicken sandwich, they wouldn't make it in just one flavor. They'd make it in all 12, like lemon pepper, mango habanero, hickory smoked barbecue, and OG hot. So why have one new favorite chicken sandwich when you can have 12? Try the new sauced and tossed Wingstop chicken sandwich today for only $5.49 at Wingstop, where flavor gets its wings. Valid for a limited time and available at participating Wingstop locations only while supplies last. Price subject to applicable taxes and fees.
This year, give the gift of delicious food, incredible service, and a lasting memory with the Pillar Restaurant Group gift card. Our holiday gift card special is back. When you purchase a $50 gift card, receive a $5 bonus card, or purchase a $100 gift card to receive a $20 bonus card. These cards can be used at all Pillar Restaurant Group locations, including Venue Restaurant and Lounge, Piedmont Bistro, Cactus, and all Lincoln Good Sense subs. Available for purchase at any of our concepts or online at prgnebraska.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and things are rocking in Louisville. We've got transport showing up every day with loads of new inventory, lots of new trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Our pre-owned inventory is also filling up fast. Our GMC Terrain inventory is really filling up fast, so we're putting special pricing on those right now. This is the time to check out our GMC Terrains, as we've got all models with a great selection of colors at a discounted price. So please stop in or check them out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Garner Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. And I just listed some great career opportunities that you can find by logging into garnerindustries.com. If you want top pay, excellent benefits, flexible work hours, and the opportunity to work in a facility with great people, contact online industries.com.
Should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years and help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Imagine your next staff meeting. Now imagine your next staff meeting with a side of ribs. Your next client presentation, or that same client presentation with brisket and baked beans. Let Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul take care of all your business needs. Feed the staff, cater your next event, whatever you need, Mary Ellen's can help. They can even host your events in their brand new event space located right next to the restaurant. Go to Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul at 20 or them. You a plate.
The best visit, and you can check out our spaces before you visit in person with a virtual campus tour. An opportunity to see our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, and Milford as you learn about our programs and areas of study. There are virtual tours of our learning centers too. We can even take you on a personalized virtual tour. Learn more at edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs, and installers to continue to build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
Back to the Tickets Basketball Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former vet Eric Strickland on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Boy, this is fun. The Huskers have a very competitive team this year, and that's kind of changing how we do these post-game shows. Remember last couple of years, they've had some streaks where they're losing like 10 in a row.
The frustration.
We would just come in here.
TVs were almost.
Yeah, ready to break some stuff, just mad, yelling on air. And what a difference it makes when Nebraska is on the other end of these blowouts here.
I can feel so much better. I mean, you come in here, you want to say something positive, but there were some times where I just couldn't say nothing positive.
And it just didn't seem to be going anywhere for the season or for the program. And now you've got a completely different outlook for it as Nebraska gets the win tonight over Iowa and really, again, combine this with the performance against Purdue, even the performance against Indiana. I'm still kind of looking back at that tournament they played over Thanksgiving where they lost to Oklahoma. They lost to Memphis, came up short, battle-tested, though. They seem to be a different team since then. And, of course, maybe that's to be expected as they kind of were feeling themselves out in the first couple of games. But ever since that tournament, they've been a competitive team that's a tough out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's interesting, too, is I always said what they would learn from those earlier games would help them when they got into the Big Ten season. It was a progressive learning curve. It was St. John's is going to hound you 40 minutes, similar to that old Arkansas teams, 40 minutes of hell. They're going to get after you, and they did. And it was going to test you as far as your methodology and how you handle yourself and the style of your play. Griesel was going to be tested as far as his point guard prowess. Where they were going to get opportunities. Were they going to be able to take care of the ball? Are they going to match the same type of energy? All of these different things they were able to learn in each step that they went forward. Then they went to Oklahoma. Then they played a strong physical style Memphis team. And in the losses, even though they were accumulating, you could see there was growth. You could see that there was a little bit more poise in a certain area. They were going, or they were realizing where they needed to go, or they were realizing, okay, how can I alleviate this pressure? That's when, Walker comes back into the mix. So it was good to see that type of stuff in the progression of their getting better throughout the season.
Well, and of course, as we mentioned, the first Big Ten win. But again, this team's battle tested. If you just look at wins against Power 5 opponents, as we know, they beat those two ACC teams in Florida State. Boston College, of course, got the big win against Creighton, who, in basketball, you consider that a Power 5, Power 6, whatever.
They have like 8 Tier 1 games.
Yeah, they've got one of the toughest schedules in the country.
Yeah.
So I mean that's where it kind of leads to your next question, or my next question, I should say, is what is the upside of this team? Because if they can press Purdue like that, they can dominate a team like Iowa. Obviously, it can happen to them too. I mean, the Kansas State game kind of got away from them. Indiana, who's the top team in this league, ended up beating them by 16. So it's not like this team has arrived and they're a shoe-in to be in the top 25 and be a top 6 seed in the tournament or anything like that. But the Big Ten's a little bit down this year. You've got 3 ranked teams. And again, the team at the top, Purdue, you feel like you should have beat. And right. I bet they feel like that in the locker room. A lot of fans and just, us in general think they have their shots at Purdue. And they'll get another one in West Lafayette eventually. But it's always a grind in the Big Ten. But you just look at it as far as like the top teams that are just going to kind of blow you away, and you kind of go into a game traditionally with the Nebraska team that's fighting their way up. You kind of say, well, it'd be kind of a huge upset if they get a win tonight. That's not necessarily the case, but that kind of goes back to, I guess, what you were saying, which is take care of home court against a league that's not necessarily, too top heavy.
Yeah, it's not an overwhelming thing. And then this is why, as you look at their next schedule, they're going to play against Michigan State in Michigan State. It's a place where I've had great success. I've won up in Michigan State. It's a tough place to play. Breslin Center, it's rocking, it gets going. But this Nebraska team has the makeup. Like when they came in to play this Iowa team, I said this Iowa team would be a great test for them because they're just like them. They're a mirror type of image as far as size, length, playing and getting after you defensively, just different things like that. And so I knew it would be a good. This Michigan State team is not a scary team as they've had in the past. Yes, it's going to be a welcome. He always gets them ready to play. But they've got to out of these next two, I would say next 3 games, they've got to go 2 for 3. They've got to get one of those, either Minnesota on the road or Michigan State on the road, if you want to stay in good balance in the Big Ten. You've got to get one of those. And then you got to come home and face a tough Illinois team that's kind of still they're still trying to find themselves a little bit. But you've got to get one of these next 2. And Minnesota is the one that I'm really eyeing. They barely beat a Chicago State team 58-52. Yeah. They're not a crazy team that can just put up big numbers unless you just let them. But this Nebraska team isn't like that. They're just not going to let you just get buckets and score on them. But then you're also going to have them face a tough Wisconsin team before they see you 4 days later. And what you see come out of that game when they play Wisconsin, Nebraska's got to have good film on them because Wisconsin is a well-coached team and they get after you defensively as well. And so you'll be able to see how they handle it depending on what they do.
Well, as we know, maybe the talent's not at the top this year for the Big Ten as it usually is, but the coaching is certainly going to be difficult, as you mentioned, to go up against. Tom Izzo in this Michigan State matchup. Like we said, that's the next game that'll be on Tuesday. Michigan State has a matchup against Buffalo tomorrow before they take on Nebraska, so they can't look ahead. But this is a team that early on in the season, 1 point loss to Gonzaga. They beat Kentucky, beat Villanova, played well against Alabama, but haven't played as well recently. Lost to Notre Dame, lost to Northwestern. So they come in at 8-4. Well, probably 9-4 if they can take down Buffalo tomorrow. But that sets up for a pretty good matchup. Like you said, that Minnesota game, those are the games that if you want Nebraska, if you want to take the next step, that's the bottom of the league. Minnesota right now 6-6. They've have trouble, getting out of the basement the last couple of years. Looks like another year like that for the Gophers. You said it before the year, and maybe we can elevate the expectations, but at least you got to start at the bottom because that's where Nebraska, quite frankly, is coming into this season. And you've got to take care of business against the seller of the Big Ten. So that's especially one that Nebraska, if you want to take it seriously as a team that's going to that's really going to compete and really going to fight for, that 500 or better record in the Big Ten. It's not just take care of your home court, which, like you said, is huge, but win the games that you're supposed to. Beat the teams at the bottom of the league to prove that you are not one of those teams. And, of course, and to be honest, maybe Iowa is going to be one of those teams today, and I'll take that. I'll take a dominating double-digit victory set of opponent. And then there's going to be nights where you're not going to be shooting as well, and it's going to be tougher. And every game's going to be tough. This is D1 Big Ten, so while I say all that stuff, I do understand that there could be some nights where you're going to have to get to rock fights to beat these teams. But it just feels like this Nebraska basketball team, far from the complete team, far from a star-studded team or anything like that. But it is a team that's going to start on that defensive end. And with Bandamel, with Griesel, with Gary, Derek Walker, always a great presence down there, very battle-tested against the Big Ten bigs. That's not going to go away. So it just feels like Nebraska is going to be in most of these games.
They're going to be in it because of their defense. I think for them, where they move into a different, they've got to get to 70-plus points. And so they've got to figure out, and that's where the easy buckets are going to come in. They've got to get to 70 because with their defense, if they know they can get to 70, with their defense, they're going to put strain and stress on teams to beat them on a given night. Because with the way that they're playing D-ball, they're sound throughout the game. and they can get to 70 points. And that's where those easy buckets, getting in the transition, getting a steal, getting out, similar to when you saw Wilcher throw the lob to Vandermill.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. If you can get about 10 points of those, Bach, you give yourself a chance. That's what I like about it.
Plenty more to be excited for. Nebraska, once again, they get the win against the Hawkeyes tonight's postgame show, 60-50. The Huskers now 8-6, get their first big win of the season. Like we said, don't let the 8-6 fool you, because that's one of the toughest schedules in the conference. They're very well battle tested and ready for this Big Ten run. Once again, the next game will be in East Lansing on Tuesday, as Nebraska goes into the New Year's winners, and we all feel good about that. Thanks to DP for joining us. Thanks to you guys for listening. Our caller, Bruce from Oregon, everybody that was chiming in on the text line, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and everything we've got going there. For myself, Jake Bachman, for the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet Eric Strickland. Thanks for joining us, and tune in for our next Who's Postgame show, and of course, celebrate all day long with us tomorrow with our regular programming, opening up with early break at 6 o'clock. We'll see you then.
Action Plumbing, Heating,